wanted to talk about one of my favorite shows of all time, Static Shock. Now, before anything, I wanted to let one thing out in the open. I would watch the show, the reruns of it on Vortex as a kid. This show came out when I was born, so 2003. So I was watching reruns of it, and it was probably one of my favorite shows to watch, and I don't care. A friend of mine said, well, why did you like a black-based show? I didn't care that it was black. It was the storytelling. It was the characters, and it didn't matter to me, especially as a kid. It didn't matter. Like, the jokes were funny. Like, I could see myself in some things, and with the action, not just seeing myself as the character. Like, I couldn't really completely see that, but I could see myself in a similar sense because I was kind of the same way, a jokester, as I grew up, kind of like that. And this show had a lot of amazing episodes, a lot of great storytelling, to the late and great Dwayne McDuffie, who was one of the best people making this show. He also helped make Ben 10, Alien Force, I do believe, and all that. So there was a lot of thought and a lot of intrigue and a lot of stuff. And it had some elements of almost Batman the Animated Series with the very thoughtful and heart of the storytelling and all that. So I want to get into my thoughts of it. Going into the episodes and going into the characters, the first episode, is not only just about like bullying, but it's also about gang violence and also, being inducted into the gang, like almost, trying to get you wrapped into that, and also just other things. Like basically the first moments of the show set a bar and a storytelling front, and also just a sense front of how it's going to play out. Like, not only do you get an origin of Static, but he's already Static, then it cuts back to how he became Static, and it's very interesting because it's like, he's freaking out because he's getting messed with and bullied by this other guy who is also a part of a certain gang in the city. And then, a person who's helping him out has his own gang. He's like, he tries to enlist him and like, hey, you don't got to do nothing and stuff like that. But then, you find out, like, you get to how he became Static, and he's like, oh, we're going to take care of your problem tonight. And the moment where he says, I stepped into it big this time, the moment he realizes they expect him to kill him, they give him a gun, and he throws it in the water, that sets the bar. That's like for a kid show to have like that adult level storytelling is amazing. And at the time, like, some kids probably wouldn't get it, and then there's a lot that would when you get older. Like, if you're in your teens or maybe you're 12 or 13, like, that type of moment, like that, especially in the culture that it was based around, or just in any type of culture, the gang lifestyle or trying to induct or stuff like that, like, that's, like, realistic. That is, like, bam, like, setting the bar on a storytelling front, because you don't get a lot of that. It's a very adult level storytelling in a human front, and like there's some quippy jokes there where he's like talking to himself and he's kind of worried and freaking out about like because his pops and his dad doesn't have a little problem with gangs, which most parents would, right? And it's kind of neat because you get a sense of like the family dynamic, and then you have heard a line between him and Reggie, where he says, your mom, she died from gang fire. And it's a blink and you miss it line, which pays off later in the series. But you hear that and it's like, huh. Like, it gives you an intrigue. It's like, wow. It kind of connects to the overarching plot in a way, for why Static throws the gun in the water, and also just why he doesn't want to go this far. He doesn't want to, he's nervous, he's freaking out, he doesn't want to be in this case scenario, which I honestly prefer this origin over the remade origin they did in the comics. Now I don't, I'm not a big fan of it, but hey, whatever works, stuff like that. I just like there's a lot of emotional episodes that really intrigue and really set the bar on a storytelling front that you don't get a lot. And there was a lot of moments in episodes that really set the bar. Heck, the villain that, the bully, actually becomes one of Static's most dangerous rivals. And another thing to point out, the villains in this show were amazing. I could count on hand the amount of times that I would adore just drawing or watching the villains and staying tuned for the next episode just because of how great the episodes were and how they were written, which I'll get into some of them in a bit. But like with Hot Streak, his rival with Static even continues as a superhero. Their rivalry just continues from him being a bully, but he also gets powers, which is pyrokinesis. And when he's on screen, he can be kind of dangerous, a little corny at times, and still the same old prick. But he's still amazing to watch, and he gives this like flair. Like you can go watch a superhero show like Superman or Batman. The villains are always intriguing to see and watch. With Francis, he kind of comes off as a punk and a jerk, but he's still kind of uniquely cool but dangerous, and it's nice to see. Like some of the episodes with him, there's even an episode where him and Static kind of have to work together to get out of this bad case scenario. I don't want to give too much away, but yeah, like moments like that are pretty amazing. And another villain I want to talk about was Ebon, one of my favorite villains. When he was introduced, I was kind of like, oh, this is kind of a cliche shadow-based villain. But no, he has like some iconic, great moments, and he like has came close to figuring out Static's identity. He's kidnapped Reggie, and some of the best episodes in the series actually have involved him. He's a very cold, calculating villain. His design was amazing. The voice acting for him was amazing. Like his first moment of introduction, you honestly kind of like he's kind of trying to protect like metal humans, and they were like stuff like that. He has like a Magneto feel, but he's kind of different because you can tell there's something a bit off, that he has like an ulterior motive, and you figure that out real quick with how like Static's like, hey, he actually turns one of the metahumans against Ebon, and it's like, like he wants them to like change and not be, evil like Ebon's wanting, or I don't remember the specifics, but like when he was on screen, he was amazing to watch. He still is amazing with the way he's drawn, his design, like the very uniqueness of his powers. He was pretty much one of my highlights for villains. And this show had some amazing, amazing villains, which I'll get into here right now. There was so many that I could talk about all day, like Shiv, who was chaotic and crazy, can make any weapon, which was pretty cool. Talon, and so many others. Puff was amazing when she was on stream. Booms, Slipstream, and so many others. Replay. The episodes sometimes that had villains in them, like it had a Danny Phantom feel before Danny Phantom even existed, where like there was like sometimes a villain of the week type feel sometimes, and then sometimes these were dangerous villains. And there was some comical stuff, of course, but some of them were legitimately dangerous, and some of them did connect to Static in certain ways, like Hot Streak, and there was another villain, but I forget her name, and Rubber Band Man, which was another villain, which I adored watching him. He was pretty much a highlight for me, which there was an episode that I connected with so much as a kid because I had really bad dyslexia, and I still do. And it kind of talks about that, where Rubber Band Man actually has, dyslexia. And there's like so many episodes. There was some heartwarming episodes too. There was a lot of them. And like some of them just had a unique feel to them, the music, the soundtrack, and each villain had a uniqueness to their design where they felt different, and they didn't just make every single one of them either they had a place in the show. They didn't just choose because it was a predominantly certain type show for the villains. Some of them, yes, but most of the time it was more about storytelling and how they connected in their designs. And oh my god, the designs! There were so many that were so cool, and the voice acting, and the talents behind them that brought them to life. It was so cool seeing as a kid. Like Replay was voiced by, I believe, Neil Patrick Harris. Like, I didn't find out till I was like 15, 17 probably. Like, I was looking back into the show and I was like, holy crap, that's Neil Patrick Harris. Wow. Like, you don't figure some of that stuff out till like you're way later as a kid, and it's like, damn. Like, this show like touched me in so many ways. When I say it like that, it sounds weird, but I mean, like, emotionally it was amazing and so cool. It gave me like a Superman the Animated Series vibe, or so many other shows at that time, because I was watching a lot. And it was amazing with the storytelling, the voice acting, the designs. Each villain felt unique in a way that when they came on screen, they had a unique presence, especially in the storytelling front. Because there was a lot of villains like this one, Permafrost. Her episode was so heartbreaking. It gave me a lot of Batman animated series, the freaking Mr. Freeze episode, because it was so uniquely done. And this show didn't hide the fact that it was kind of progressive. It didn't hide the fact of taking on like social issues. Like this one, there was like it based around homelessness and and a lot of different other things. Like her mother died of cancer. Like social services came. Her stepfather did not want nothing to do with her. And the most important line of this episode is like, when you're homeless, it's like people look right through you. It's like you're not even there. And like the way Static looks away, I was like, I've been guilty of that. He feels kind of ashamed, but it ends on a positive note. But it's just the level it's presented, the way it's presented. Her kind of fighting against this emotional strain and fear, and like she, even the lines about her powers, like, I thought I would get, when I got these powers I would, but now I'm more alone than ever. And like those lines are so heartbreaking because they make you feel something, they make you care. And her character was like a standout when she only got a one and done episode, one and done, but it didn't matter because it was so unique and so cool. The way it was presented, the way it was done, the way it was drawn, just the way it was done. Like, there's so many moments like that with, his friend Reggie becoming Gear. There was even an episode about school shootings. And there was an episode where Reggie's father is kind of racist. And they handled it in a unique way. And that's the thing that modern TV shows don't do, is they kind of hide the way of that. They're afraid to tackle those topics. They're afraid to do any of that stuff. But this show did it. Before it was even done, they did it. And it was so cool. And this show really means the world to me because it's amazing. And it's striking how deep the characters can be, how cool some of the plot lines can be, just the episodes. There was so many episodes that had kind of dark premises and very true premises. Bullying and all that stuff. There were so many. And it didn't shy away from it. It didn't run away from it. It didn't hide that. But it presented it in a way that really digs it out to say, hey, this is real. It can even happen here. Let me, and that's why I'm working on a poster for it, because this show was amazing. And this show was great. And if anyone in my audience has never watched this show, please do. Please watch it. The animation probably isn't, is not up to stuff to the way you guys would be used to, but it doesn't matter. This show really set the bar. And it's amazing, and I highly recommend it. And yeah, I'll give it, honestly, if I want to talk, I'm going to say I would give this show a 10 out of 10. It's no bias, no nothing, just the way it was handled, the way it's presented, and you can go back and rewatch it a couple decades later, and it's still that damn good. So those are my thoughts on it. Let me know yours in the comments down below. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. All that jazz. Bye-bye.